Hi everybody, Wes Tampa with JWS Repair Service here today. We're going to start a new series. We're going to call it This Old Four-Wheeler. And what we're going to be doing today is I've got a 94 older Polaris 400 4x4, it's the old two-stroke. We got several things to do to this machine to bring it back to life. It was a good machine when it was new, and it'll be a great machine now. It does need some attention, mainly in the front end. Today we're going to be replacing pivot ball upper and lower, and replacing the lower A-arm bushings and shafts. So we're going to do several different series on this machine because, like I said, it does need quite a bit over time. I mean, it's 25 years old, so it's been a good machine. It still runs, but it does need some chassis work and some other things, including making the oil pump system work again, because these were oil injected so that you didn't have to mix the oil and the gas. I'll get into that on a later video, but for now we're gonna show you what we're gonna start doing today. I'm gonna point out the items that we're doing and then try to get a good angle so you can see what's going on. Thanks a lot. A penetrating lube on this. This is going to be very helpful on these older machines because, well, everything's probably kind of rusted. This is more, instead of some videos you may see where they're always working on new stuff, this is more what you'll find on a normal use on a machine that actually gets used. So we'll get this off of here. And now you'll be able to see the things that we're doing. These are the front A-arm bushings. You can see they're worn. You can see how this is moving up here. That needs to be replaced. We're replacing that. But we're going to start with the pivot balls up here at the top because those are more of a pain to do than these down here. So we're going to do that first. So let me get a better angle and I'll be right back. Alright, this is a shot of the pivot ball. They're on the top, above and below this frame member. This is going to be on both of your McPherson struts on the front end. These are nylon bushings. They have to turn. When you turn the wheels, this whole McPherson strut assembly will turn with it. Over time, these just get they get old, they crack, and they fall out. And the way you'll be able to tell, it's not really hard to troubleshoot. The way you'll be able to tell when these are bad is that every time you go up and down over a bump, you'll hear just a really pretty loud banging coming from the front end. And that's because most of the time the pivot ball that is underneath this, up underneath this metal collar here, you'll see this is the frame piece. This is a metal spring retainer. The bottom pivot ball sits on top of that. It will be broken. Most of the time it falls out, which gives you a lot of clearance in here. Now, Polaris did not make these the easiest thing in the world to change on these older units, so we're going to struggle with this a little bit, but we're going to kind of give you an idea of how to maybe do it, and maybe you can do it yourself at home. But let me get another camera angle and then we'll get you focused in on this. We'll start removing this. Okay, I'm back and we're going to start spraying this top. There is one nut that is up here on top and it's threaded to your shock cartridge itself. So we've got to get that to turn. Now this is a 5/8 nut, and unfortunately this customer has bent this rack at some point in the past. So I'm going to have to use a bit of a pry bar just to get the wrench on top of that. But I've got to get that on there. But as you can see, what's happening is the assembly itself, the strut cartridge itself, is turning. And there's no way to hold that because on these earlier units, this top part is just round. It's smooth. The later ones, they actually put a hex on it so you can put a wrench on it and hold it. But on these older ones, original version of these struts, that is just a round piece on top, so there's no way to hold it. So though I hate doing this, there's no other way to do it. We're going to get a pair of ice grips and go as high on this as you possibly can. Now this is a hardened chrome steel shaft in the middle of this, so the chances are I'm not going to scar this, but just in case that I might, this does not travel that far. This will be above where the seals are in the cartridge so that it won't damage where the sealing surface is. Let me show you where the sealing surface would be. Right in here, right into this part, right in the very top of this part up here. So we're going to get this as high up as we possibly can with the vice grips, just so that we can hold that and keep it from turning, so we can get the nut to come loose. And hopefully it will come loose. All right, now I've got that set back up. So we're going to get this. I'm going to set it pretty tight. Get it right up here on the top. Might be a little bit too much. We want it tight, but we do need to be able to clip it. Okay, now we're going to attempt to loosen the nut. And you just have to go, unless you've got a ratcheting box end wrench. I do have some, but this is American, this is a 5/8. I don't have any in a metric, so I mean, I've got them in metric, I don't have them in American. Most of the stuff we work on is metric, and there's quite a bit of metric stuff on a Polaris, but this is not one of them. Anything that's related to the chassis is going to be American sizes, so, and American to thread as well. All right, well, that shot of penetrating lube and just holding it with the vice grips, we're getting it loose, but you can't get much of a turn on this, so it just takes a minute. We'll get this loose, and then I'll show you what the pivot balls look like and what they're supposed to look like and how to get the new one. Okay, we got that off. Obviously it fell off. This is the upper pivot ball here. It's just the round plastic nylon pivot ball, and there it is. And you can see here that there's quite a bit of wear on this. This should be, well, this should be round. It should be kind of concave, where it's a smooth transition here. Let me zoom out just a little bit here. Okay, and this is what it currently looks like. But we're gonna show you what the new one looks like compared to that, and you'll be able to see the difference here, that it's taken quite a bit of damage. So over the years they just get tired, and you can see there's some damage here. And this is actually not the side that's that bad. This one's loose. They just get to a point where you can't tighten them up anymore, which is what causes that banging in it. But you can see the wear that's here on this edge. It's not flat. This one, you can see it's a nice smooth sides there. So let's go ahead and inspect the underside of the mount, because we want to make sure that isn't damaged, so that when we put the new pivot ball in there, it'll actually work. So let's take a look at this, and you can see in there that it's nice and shiny. There's nothing missing. It's not flaky looking. It's not rusted. So we can put a pivot ball right back in that. Now let's give you a shot of what the new one looks like. Oh, I did show you the new one. We're going to show you how to install them. There's actually 3 different pieces here. There's obviously this one, and this goes right on top of the strut like that. You can see that. It's right there. Now, we're not going to put that on there just like that. We need to grease that first. I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. Now, this is a waterproof synthetic grease, water resistant. I don't think there's anything that's truly waterproof if it's grease and it's exposed, but it's a water resistant grease. Okay, we're going to put that on there. Then we're going to take the new top pivot ball. This is it, and we're going to put some grease on this bottom edge here, just to make sure we've got some lubrication on top of that. Then above that, on top of this, you have a rubber washer that sits there. Then the original, this is the metal washer that I took off. This metal washer goes on top of that. So we're going to set this assembly aside. We've got to lift the strut back up in there. We're going to put the top pivot ball along with the rubber spacer, and then the metal washer, and all that goes on top of there. And then we put the nut back on it as soon as I could find the nut. And where did it go? Well, let me set that there a moment and let me find the thing. Okay, I've got it. So now we're going to take the whole strut assembly, lift it back up, put it through the top. We're going to start the nut on it. It's a little tricky to get your fingers in here to do it, but you can do it. I've done, oh jeepers, I don't know how many of these things over the years, a lot. If you can get that nut started, then you're good, because then it's just a matter of tightening it down and it'll pull itself up in there. And I'll let go of it. And the nut fell. Okay, I found the nut and we're starting it on there. You can go by hand a ways, but it is a lock nut, so you're it's gonna have to go all the way down. It's a nylon lock nut, so you're not gonna be able, you can get it started on there by hand, but then you got to get a wrench on it to actually get it out, or get it on, should I say. I'm just going to tighten that up now. We'll bring that strut back up to where it belongs, where it's supposed to be. And then we're just going to get it kind of, well, good and snug. Don't want to necessarily kill it. No need to do that, but we do want to get it really good and tight. Like so. Okay. There we go. Remove the vice grip, and it doesn't look like we did any damage there at all, which is great because we didn't want to. And there, I think I got a better angle. You can see it didn't damage the top of the strut cartridge or the ram from the strut at all, so we're good. So that is the replacement of the original style. Like I said, this is a 94 model Polaris pivot balls. They used it on all models, so if you've got anything from the late 80s into the early to late 90s, it's got this exact same setup in the front, and those will be a common wear item. We'll do the other side and then we'll be complete, then we'll move on to A-arms. So thanks for watching the video. We appreciate it. Stay tuned for the next one. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for future content. And as always, you can catch us on the web at www.jwsrepairservice.com. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.